Well, this is Zach Biesinger here with my Seeking Answers project. My project was on the different accounts of Joseph Smith's first vision. I have my executive summary pulled up here. I will be going to the different sources after I go over the Seeking Answers skills. Um, I know my camera is blurry. That is the program that I'm using. It won't let me turn off the blur or whatever, but at least you can see my face. So, all right, let's get right into things. So, here are my executive summary. Let's start down with the 7 seeking answer skills that I used, and we'll get back to the sources at the end because I feel like the sources really tie everything together. So the first skill that I decided to put on my executive summary was be patient with the Lord, yourself, and others. This one's pretty critical because I actually refer back to this one in future digital dialogues and in future seeking answer skills. It's because this one was probably my longest study out of all of the digital dialogues I did. Beginning of the semester, I had a lot more time, and I don't know. I feel like I actually did a majority of my study within just this one topic itself, so I refer back to it a lot. So this first one, be patient with the Lord, yourself, and others. What I did for this study is I did 2 different studies, and I created a table in my study notebook. What I did for the very first part was I kind of dissected each different account of Joseph Smith's first visions, and what I did is I wrote down just a list of similarities and a list of differences. And then I just, compared them, saw where they were the same, saw where they were different. It took a while. But what I ended up doing on my second study through, I still saw the same similarities and I still saw the same differences. But what was really cool on the second time is sorry, I'm re-looking over how I specifically said this. The overall message, that's right. The overall message, even though there were differences, was the same for every account. While, yes, the audiences are different, and yes, maybe the purpose behind when Joseph was speaking or putting this in a paper, it may be different. The purpose behind it is the same, which is really cool. Even though there's all these differences, the whole message is the same, which is a testimony to me of its truthfulness. For the second skill, truth is one great whole. This one actually went back to that table that I made. And because of this skill, which is seeing the whole truth within the matter, what I was able to do is I was able to pinpoint, I specifically focus on the differences for this one. I pinpointed the differences, and what I did is I looked for that message, that connecting message, even within the differences. Because I feel like the differences, especially when it comes to Joseph Smith's first vision, are how do I put this into words? They can be very disheartening. That's not the right word I'm looking for, but pretty much it can be discouraging. That's it. Because seeing differences, in our modern mindset, it can be bad. But going through the differences in each one, like for example, in one of the accounts, I don't remember all the dates by name, but one specifically says that when Joseph had the vision, that the heavens opened, he saw into heaven, and he saw the Lord. And in the second one, and in other accounts, it doesn't specify that the heavens opened to him, but that God the Father and Jesus Christ came to him. And those are differences. Those are pretty big differences because it encapsulates, if you think about it, the entirety of the vision. But the message between both of them was the same, which was the restoration of the gospel coming forward and the truthfulness of who God is and who Jesus Christ is. Let's head to the next one. The third one I decided to do was the past is different. This one goes back to kind of what I've been alluding to, which is the difference in, the past itself. What was going on during Joseph Smith's time was a lot of religious revival, and this was really cool because for this study, I didn't do a whole lot of writing. I kind of just sat back and thought about what happened at Joseph Smith's time and how people would have reacted, how I would have reacted if I was just a regular working person in New York at this time. How would I have reacted to hearing about this boy receiving this vision from God and receiving revelation today? How would I react? And if you think about it, during this time was a lot of religious revival, a lot of just religion was huge in New England at this time. And it probably wasn't uncommon for people to say that they had these visions of seeing God or these miraculous revelations. I don't think because of all the stuff going on at the time, I mean, you look through history, you hear about like the Shakers and things like that, that it was really uncommon. I'm sure people were like, oh, that could have happened, but also, this is a boy. The stuff he's saying is very different. And of course, you have the adversary trying to destroy the credibility of the vision and to create enemies towards Joseph. But that's kind of what I did for this study, and understanding that, the past was different. Like nowadays, if you think about if someone came up and said, hey, I got a vision from God while in a grove of trees, and this is what he said, people would just stare at you and be like, yeah, sure, 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 you're another crazy nut job. I don't know. I definitely feel like I would be that way if I wasn't, a member of this church or anything like that. So let's head to the next one. The next one is expanding binaries and mindsets. This is the most recent one that we've done, and this was a fun one because this this one kind of connects back with the past is different one, because instead what I did was I looked at this purely from Joseph's perspective throughout his life. Just as in my life, I've had spiritual experiences in different phases of my life, they've been different. They've meant different things to me. And so what I did in this study is I thought about, each of these different accounts are done at different times in Joseph's life. What would this vision have meant to Joseph at these different times of his life? And it makes sense why there's differences. Because Joseph Smith is still learning from the experience. And he's taking the knowledge that he has learned from future revelations and applying it back and creating his whole testimony, his whole foundation, based on the cumulative amount of his understanding. Not just one vision that happened. That is not the basis of his testimony. So it makes sense as he's speaking to different people that he says it slightly different. His knowledge is better. His intellect is better. It just makes sense why there would be differences. The next skill is thinking slowly and humbly. And this skill, what I decided to focus on was something that one of my mission leaders said in my mission. It was a very stressful time in my mission. There was a lot of missionaries that went home. There was a lot of disobedience that happened. And everyone was just kind of stressed out, didn't know what was going on. So in a zone conference, one of them got up and gave a beautiful talk about being still and using that to be able to come closer to God and receive a testimony of Him. And this is very true with anything in the gospel. And in the specific context of Joseph Smith's first visions, with these differences, it can seem overwhelming. But when we stop, when we be still, when we focus on God, that's when, if we go next, we can act in faith. We can take these two topics hand in hand, and we can slow down, and we can trust in God. And what we can do is we can study. We can think of things differently. And by doing this, we can gain, just as the Book of Mormon says, the truth of all things. I know those two were kind of quick. One, I'm running out of time, but I felt like that was a good transition. So let's go to the final skill here. The past is gone. So with this one here, this one kind of ties back to the past is different, but in kind of a different light. When we look back at the past, we need to take away pretty much what we know today. And so what I did in this example is I went back to thinking, oh, what if I'm just a worker or a boy in New York? Instead of thinking about, oh, what would I think about hearing about this? Instead, I thought about what would my life have been like? And so what I did in this instance was I thought about, I'm probably having to help my family survive. I'm probably working constantly. I'm probably, there's modern technology isn't around. Life was just very, very different. And this is very important when it comes towards understanding Joseph's first vision, is we need to take into context what the past was. We got to uh, go down from our modern mindsets and understand things as they were back then. All right. This last minute or so, what we're going to do is go over my different sources. The main three that I'm going to focus on is one from each here, just because of time, but it also, they're kind of like the summary that kind of goes over everything. Okay, so the first one here is in Joseph Smith Papers. This is what I mostly used for reading the different accounts and comparing them. So like we have the 1832 account here and the 1835 account. Now this one is great, but it kind of lacks something, and that's where we go to the secondary source First Vision accounts, which is in the Gospel Library. This one is great because it gives context behind every single one. Like the 1832 account here is an unpublished autobiography. You go down, and the other one is like a paper. Lastly, what we got here is this article from the BYU Religious Studies Center. This one's really cool, and it's got a ton of information in it. But one part that specifically stuck out to me is this B.H. Roberts quote right here that refers to Joseph Smith's understanding of God to the Bible. And the reason why I found this very important, I know I'm kind of short on time here, is that when it comes to understanding modern revelation, you look for continuity. You look for things that are the same compared to other truth that's been told. And what B.H. Robert does in here is he refers to Paul. How Paul says that there are gods many and lords many. And how Joseph Smith said similar things up here. I won't go into that because I'm out of time. But yeah, these sources were really great and helped me to understand each account in a broader sense. But let's go to my summary. So my summary's there. You're welcome to read it, but I just wanted to say that the main thing that I learned from this is that differences are okay. Differences is what makes the First Vision account so rich. It's what makes this event meaningful. And it's what makes it generational. Because of these differences, we can take this vision, build our testimonies not just around it, but towards what truly matters, which is the message behind the vision. And I think it definitely wasn't what I thought the outcome of this project would be, but I think it's very important, and it's helped me to look at things within the gospel in a different light. But yeah, there's my project. Sorry I'm a little over, but I'm a talkative person. Yeah, that's about it. Let me just